Thank you for your interest in DMI's InterestNet software. Let's take a look at one of its many features. InterestNet gives users the ability to set up and calculate a variety of IRS penalties. In this video, we will look at failure to file, failure to pay penalties. These penalties are accessible from the navigation bar's Penalties group. Upon selecting the Failure to File, Failure to Pay option, you will be prompted to create a new data file if you have not already done so. Click Yes, and type the name you wish to give your data file. Then click the Save icon. Select the designated area you wish to save your file, and click Save. This will bring you to a single module screen where a default tax module will have already been added to the module list at the top of the screen. Since this module was automatically added to the system, the Edit module screen will automatically be displayed as well. This is where the user can set the defining parameters of the tax module. Use the available controls on this screen to select the parameters for the module, such as jurisdiction, tax type, interest rate table, and tax period. You may also edit the description and tax ID if desired. In this case, we will set up a module for a Form 1040 return for the year 2011 for Joe Taxpayer. Note that if all the user wants to do is quickly check a penalty calculation, the above steps may be omitted, and the user can exit this screen and go directly to setting up the penalty data. For failure to file, failure to pay penalties, these settings do not affect the calculations and are used to identify the tax module. Once the parameters have been set, click the Save icon. Next, choose Failure to File, Failure to Pay from the Selections bar menu. The Failure to File, Failure to Pay screen allows the user to set up any or all of these types of penalties at once, as shown in the list of penalties at the top. Only penalties that are checked on will be computed. In this example, we will be demonstrating how to set up a Failure to File penalty, so we will turn that one on. In the middle section of the screen is where the penalty parameters and details are entered. Certain dates will have default values, such as the return due date, which will be based on the tax type and period of the module, and the compute through date. These dates may be edited as needed. To set up the penalty, input the parameters as required. In this example, we will leave the due date of April 15, 2012, since it correctly represents the date of the 2011 Form 1040 return. We will leave the extended due date blank, and we will enter a return received date of July 11, 2012 as the date the IRS received the return from the taxpayer. We also must check the income tax return box, since this is a Form 1040 return. This option establishes some minimum penalty amounts in some cases. The penalty detail area is where the user enters the data that the penalty will be computed on. There are two ways to do this. We will first focus on the simplest method, manual entry. This is accomplished by using the Override feature. Check the Override checkbox and enter the date and amount of tax as it would appear on the tax return. In this case, we will use the due date of April 15, 2012 and an assessment amount of $35,000. Once this is done, click the Process button to compute the results. The penalty results screen will appear at the bottom. This lists any existing penalty transactions if selected on the left, which is not the case in this example. On the right, it lists the penalty transactions that would be added to the module data based on the computed results. Since we are just doing a quick calculation on manually entered data, this is not applicable either, so we will go right to the penalty report by clicking the Report button. The Failure to File penalty report shows the relevant module and penalty parameters and the detailed results of the calculation. The user has options to print and export the report in the top menu bar of the report. As mentioned earlier, there is another method to define the penalty detail that is based on having actual tax module transaction data in the module you are working in. This involves selecting assessments, payments, and existing penalty transactions from the data already in the tax module, and will be covered in a different tutorial video. The other penalties in this group, failure to pay tax on return and failure to pay assessment, are also accessible on this screen. While slightly different in the detail the user must assign when setting up the penalty, their layout and function is essentially the same as failure to pay. After viewing this tutorial, the user should be able to also complete and calculate them. This concludes our look at the Failure to File, Failure to Pay penalty feature. Please see our other videos for more features of the InterestNet software.